Hi folks, Doc here. Happy Sunday. Was in the shop yesterday doing some stripping. Yeah, taking parts off a machine, not my clothes. Y'all can take your hand away from the screen now. It's okay, I scared myself too. Alrighty, so here we have what's left of the Honda 3813 that I stripped down. I'll come in and give you a closer look. This, by the way, is the only reason I'm not freezing my stones off here today. Gotta like the wood stove. Alright, so don't let the little tires fool you. That's a dolly I've got the chassis strapped to so I can move it around. And just come around here. It's a little skinny getting past the welder there. Alright, so as you can see, these Hondas have a marvelous C-channel chassis. I really like the frames on these things. They're pretty stout. And I've got the trans axle out and the drive line out and all that. I've got the front axle out. And all the body work is off. And the only thing I'm left with here is the engine in the chassis. And the engine is still in the chassis because of the fact that it's going to stay there. At least for now anyways. I might do an upgrade, engine upgrade on this project a little bit later on. But in the meantime, I've got everything out that I need to get out. So there's a view of the PTO side of the engine with that little rubber coupler thingy in there. And it's not a heck of a lot left here, just engine and frame. The steering, well, I can probably tuck underneath and get you a shot of the steering. Dolly's kind of in the way. Anyways, yeah, that's where the steering column comes down into the sector shaft. And that's all that's left there. I pulled everything else out because I'm going to have to re-engineer the steering. And that's pretty much the extent of it, really. As you all know, I really dig these Hondas. And the more I tear into them and the more I work on them, the more I play with them, the more I realize how exceptionally well built they are. Starting with the C-channel frame and the shaft drive, and the clutch is awesome. Give me a second, I can show you the clutch. This here is the clutch out of one of these Honda 3813s. And it is a dry disc clutch. It's just like an automotive clutch scaled down. These things are absolutely brilliant. I like the way these are designed and built even better than the Cub Cadet clutches. I did have a Cub for a short period of time, as some of you guys may know if you've been watching and paying attention. Full Metal Fab on YouTube has it now, and he keeps rubbing it in. He just did a cold start on the damn thing. It was chuff and smoke like Winston Churchill, but damn it, it still started. Anyways, these clutches are very, very well built, and I'm kind of hanging on to a couple of these things for future use, somehow, some way. Very well built clutches. So you've got, you know, the good C-channel frames, as I said. And the engine is a GX360 K1, which is 360 cc's, good for 13 horsepower, liquid cooled inline 2. And I don't know if you can see from where you're standing, maybe I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer a little bit later again. It's actually kind of a slant block. It kind of reminds me of the old Chrysler Slant 6s, the way this thing sits. The pistons are not straight vertical. You can just kind of see, I'll get my hand out of the way in a second here, the cylinder arrangement sort of tilted off to one side, and obviously they had to engineer things for that, otherwise the carburetor would be sitting weird. So, neat little engine, liquid cooled. This one here, the GX360 K1, is magneto fired, like all of our usual small engines, so they don't require power to the coil or anything like that. Same thing, ground them out to kill the spark, yada yada yada. So these engines here, although the Honda wiring in factory form is really complex, and I mean there's freaking relays everywhere, most of it is actually quite unnecessary, and you can strip these down to basic wiring. As I get further into this project, you'll see that, because I'm going to do exactly that, and I'm going to do away with a bunch of the junk that I don't need. So you've got the shaft drive coming out of that little coupler on the engine that I showed you, and it goes into the clutch, which is mounted directly onto the transaxle. Now the transaxles, I wanted to talk about these transaxles for a second. I don't have it open right now, and I should have taken some photographs yesterday. My apologies. My son tore one down on the bench because I needed a part out of it. And I have to say that for an aluminum case transaxle, it's definitely the best built Mower transaxle I've seen to date. Full ball bearings all throughout. I'm not sure about the spider gears. I'll get back to the diff in a second. But all the spur gears inside, all the shift gears, are not sintered. They're cast and machined. So you don't have a lot of that sintered steel crap all in there. I think the spiders might be. I'm not 100% sure. I'll dig into that later. It's got an all-iron differential carrier, kind of like a Peerless 800, but it's even better built than an 800's iron carrier. These things are solid. I'm going to have one open again because I'm probably going to wind up locking one. And if you have access to one, and if you can kind of mentally get around the shaft drive thing, either by putting it in another shaft drive machine or doing a little 90-degree gearbox action or something like that, if you have the ability to use a Honda transaxle from one of these things, you know, the 5-speed manual, never mind the hydro, use it. For the love of God, use it. Peerless uses these little spring-loaded shift forks, and so does Foot and Spicer and whatever, and you've seen them before, I'm sure, and it's just a little thin, little stupid springy forky thing. The shift key. In the Hondas, it's actually a really bulky, beefy, non-spring steel key. They're hardened, obviously, but it's not spring steel. And the key themselves are spring-loaded at the back end. You know, so they've got kind of a bend, and then there's a collar and a couple of coil springs. And they're actually spring-loaded and a lot beefier. I have no doubt that these Honda keys will live bloody forever. The drum brakes on these things... There's a brake on the side. It's a drum brake. It's the same kind of drum brake that you'd see on an older ATV or a motorcycle. I mean, it is a drum brake, not a disc. But there's a lot of meat to the pads. It's like a 5-inch diameter. It's no wonder these Hondas stop so well. So that and shafts that are almost equivalent to an inch. I forget what I measured them at. It's obviously metric, so it's 24 millimeter or something like that. Really beefy shafts. Solid transaxles. Anyways. Moving on. So what I have here is a project in the making. Okay, so the machine's sitting on a slight angle, so I'm going to adjust the camera angle. It should be more or less straight up and down on your screen now. And you can see how the cylinder arrangement is not dead vertical. You can see that cylinder bank kind of standing like this. And that's probably, I don't know, maybe 15, maybe 20 degrees off the vertical. So it's like an old Slant 6, except it's overhead cam. These aren't even OHV, they're OHC. So what are we doing here? Well, we're at the forefront of a new build. This is a new build where I'm going to go a little bit off the reservation. I'm going to do something that is abnormal, so to speak. Something you haven't seen done quite this way before. It is going to be, indeed, another off-road lawn tractor. It is going to be capable in mud. In fact, I think we can go ahead and call it a mud mower. I haven't really built something dedicated for mud. And I have a spot about a mile down the road that's very muddy, as you've seen by some of my videos. I've buried everything. I've buried my machines. I've buried my son. I've buried my friend. They're all dead. Buried. That gets really, really nasty. I don't know if this is going to be done in time for the spring thaw, which would be really cool, because I know that's going to be just absolute swamp yuck. I do believe that I'm going to enter this in the 2018 All-Terrain Lawn Tractor Forum Build-Off Competition. Going to take a little bit of a different tack from last time. So, I've decided to codename this Predator. Has nothing to do with the engine, sorry about your luck. And I promise this is going to be different. What you're seeing here today are the first glimpses of Operation Predator. More will be revealed at an appropriate time. This is not that time. In the meantime, I'd like y'all to focus on this little gizmo I've got in my hand here, right there. Yeah, look at it, right there. You did not see anything out of the ordinary. You did not visit Area 51. All you saw was just another Craftsman build. You may go about your business. Damn, that's cold. Yeehaw!